Welcome to the class of Network Security and Cryptography Fundamentals. Today I am going to discuss about number theory in cryptography. So what is the theory of numbers? Why we use mathematical formulas in cryptography? What is the requirement for the same? How we compute complex calculations and how the data security is achieved with the help of the number theory in cryptography. So I'm going to discuss about the same today with the help of the number theory. So first of all, I'm going to discuss about the objective behind the same so that we can learn the formulas behind the encryption. So what are the formulas that are being used? It is according to your mathematics that you have studied in 12th standard, or I can say in your first year of your BTECs, first or second semester in your BTech, there was a subject called maths, M1 or M2, I can say. So you must have studied about the number theory in the same, like GCD, LCM, how to calculate LCM, how to calculate GCD. GCD means to say greatest common divisor, least common factor. Then in addition, there will be various theories that are related to integer, factorization, prime numbers. So these are all the formulas and mathematical terms that you might have studied in mathematics class of the BTEC. So I am going to study about the number theory in cryptography, in which we will use again those similar terms like integers. What are integers? What is the use of set? What are the various operations that can be applied on set, like union, intersection, not, complement? These are all the operations that we are going to discuss, because we are supposed to apply those formulas and strategies on the encryption technique so that our data could be secured while it is while it is transferred over the network. So similarly, the first I am going to discuss about the term is uh, before discussing about any term, I am going to discuss about the outcome. Outcome is to obtain the highest data integrity and highest security of the data could be achieved. So first one is the term. What is motivation? Motivation in concern to number theory. So what is motivation here? Easy to do and difficult to do. So what is easy to do and what is difficult to do in cryptography with the help of number theory? It is fast exponentiation. Fast exponentiation mean to say in the power 2 raised to power 10, 2 raised to power 20, 2 raised to power 40. So in this way it is used so that our data could be secured. Next is multiply to large numbers. Multiplying to large number mean to say we are supposed to choose in various algorithms to large prime numbers, complex prime numbers. For example, 53. For example, 51. So 53. So these numbers could be used so that we can perform various operations in order to secure our data. So basically, network security and cryptography fundamentals is the subject of learning various techniques that are concerned with encryption and decryption only. In addition, it is concerned with the security purposes. For what? For data that is being transmitted between two parties, or that is being transferred over the network. So various algorithms will be used according to the requirement, various techniques will be used, various formulas will be come into the picture while we are concluding the encryption and decryption details. So similarly, here is what is easy to do, that is fast exponentiation. Second is to multiply the two large numbers. It is very easy. So what is difficult? Discrete logarithm. Discrete logarithm that we have discussed in the previous lecture. So that is difficult to achieve. Next is factoring a huge product. Factoring a huge product is the difficult task. Now I am giving you the example of the discrete logarithm. Just have a look. Discrete logarithm. So what will be the discrete logarithm? It is concerned discrete, as the name implies, at different interval of time, or discrete mean to say like different, unique, or I can say for example, in an automation, if I am giving some input and I am receiving some output, so the first input I give is 1 and 1 and 3, and the operation that was supposed to perform is addition. So 1 and 3 will be, the output will be 4. Similarly, second discrete input could be 2 and 4. So the operation answer will be 6. So in this way, I am supposed to fed discrete input at the particular instant of time. So what is the purpose of discrete logarithm? Logarithm mean to say we are using log as well, discrete log theory as well. You can perform the calculations in the effective manner. So what is that in mathematics? For the given real numbers a and b, you can choose any number. I am choosing one number, that is two numbers a and b. The logarithm log, what is logarithm? Basically in mathematics, logarithm mean to say like we take values of log x, log y, or log base 10x, log base e x, log base 2x. So its values are already defined in the table that will be supplied to you while you are performing complex calculations in the exam, because mathematics is also a very vast subject, so you can't remember each and every value. So there will be a table that will be given for your sport in calculating all those details in the exam. So what will be the value of log base 2x, what will be the value of log base ex, what will be the value of log base 8x, what will be the value of log 8, log 10x. So in this way, the logarithm of particular value would be calculated. For example, log base of b a, because I have taken real number a and b, is such that is a number x such that b raised to power x is equal to a. So there will be a group. If you remember, we have studied about group fields and rings in the cryptography in the second or third lecture. So in any group G, we are denoting the group with the help of the capital G. Powers b raised to power k can be defined as all integers where k will be falling for the integers. It could be in the range of the integers. And discrete logarithm, what I am using is log b of a is an integer k such that b of k is equal to a. So in this way, discrete, why we use discrete logarithm? They are quickly computable in few special cases, because no efficient method is known for computing them in general. So there are various algorithms in public key cryptography base their security on the assumption that the discrete logarithm problem over carefully chosen groups has no efficient solution. Next is factorizing a huge product. Now factorizing a huge product mean to say if any two numbers, if I am going to multiply the same, then there is the huge product as the result. But what is factorization mean to say? For example, if I am talking about the integer factorization, it is the decomposition. What decomposition about of the different composite numbers into the product of the smaller integers. So what is factorization? Decomposition of the composite numbers into the product of the smaller integers. So if these factors are further restricted to prime numbers, the process is called prime factorization. If these factors are further restricted to any other number, or I can say any other particular definition or of the numbers, then the process would be called the factorization according to that technique that is being followed. So next is the basic and a few minor details. First is modulo arithmetic that we have discussed in, I think, DES and AES. Modulo arithmetic. Arithmetic, as a name implies, plus, minus, division, subtraction, multiplication. But modulo, with the help of the modulus, we are supposed to calculate the modulus of particular term. In cryptography, we have used modulus till 26 because there are 26 alphabets in ABCD characters. So what is that? Modulo arithmetic. Addition and additive inverse are easy. Multiplicative inverse does not always exist. They exist, but it might not be the case that they always exist. Properties of prime numbers that are multiplied by themselves. So what is the property of prime numbers? A prime is divisible only by itself and 1. Next is determining primality is not all that easy. Next is multi-word arithmetic, that is additional method in which we can use Chinese remainder theorem, and Chinese remainder theorem is in your 5th unit. I will discuss about Chinese remainder theorem in the upcoming lectures. Next is finding inverse in the finite field. Finite field mean to say the fields that I can count easily. The fields finite, as the name implies, finite. Finite means something that is countable, that is not beyond the that is not infinite, that is not beyond the scope of our counting. So finding the inverse in the finite fields, that is modified lucid algorithms applied here also. If you remember, we have discussed lucid algorithm as well. So next is, what are the useful results of the number theory? First is private key crypto. Obviously, private key crypto that we have used for RSA algorithm, or I can say elliptic curve cryptography. So what is private key cryptography? What is Diffie-Hellman algorithm? It means private key cryptography ka matlab, what is that two keys will be there. One is public key, second is private key. Public key is available to both the parties, but private key will be known only to the intended receiver or the receiver that is supposed to receive my message. So in this way, private key cryptography would be used, and the example of private key cryptography is RSA algorithm or elliptic curve cryptography that we have discussed in the yesterday lecture. Yesterday, a day before yesterday. So next is Diffie-Hellman algorithm. So what is Diffie-Hellman algorithm? In Diffie-Hellman algorithm, we are generating the shared secret key that we discussed yesterday. Even we deduce the same key as a result. Bob and Alice, if you remember, Bob and Alice, both are deducing both are swapping their keys by using some formulas in between, mathematical formulas in between, and in the end the shared key would be the same. 9 was the key of the secret key of the Bob, and 9 was the secret key of the Ellie. So in this way, the key was shared between the two parties. So in this way, Diffie-Hellman algorithm generates a shared key secret. Next is Chinese remainder theorem that I have not discussed so far. I will discuss Chinese remainder theorem in the 5th unit, because I am telling you about the number theory. So number theory comprises of the Chinese remainder theorem as well. In addition, it comprises GCD as well. But I have not discussed. I will discuss it with soon in the upcoming lecture. Next is generation and testing of the large primes. That is useful in all the above. Mean to say, we can choose the prime numbers. We have already done this in the GCD calculation. We are supposed to select two prime numbers, and we are supposed to perform various mathematical calculations on those prime numbers, so that our data could be secured. Because if we are using the high end prime numbers, then it would be technically infeasible for a person to deduce the key that is being used for the data transmission. So till now, I have discussed about basic details about the number theory. You can have a look. If you are having any query regarding same, you can ask me. I am giving you the time of 1 to 2 minutes. Just have a look at all the slides that I have discussed so far. Next is the prime factorization theorem. Prime. I already discussed about factorization theory. That is based on the prime, mean to say decomposition. So a prime is a number that is divisible only by itself and 1. So any number can be factored uniquely into a product of primes to some power. For example, 1100 could be, how 1100 could be arranged in the such a fashion. देखो, 2 into, I am generating factors here, 2 into just wait, 11 into 10 into 10. These are the straightforward 11 into 10 into 10. So again I can generate 11 into 10. 11 into 10, 1 into 10. 11 into 10, 110, 110 into further 10, 1100. So they have started generating the numbers from the least common divisor. So this is, I am just generating it, 2 into, just wait, 2 into, like 2, after using the 2 value, it will be 5. Okay, 1050. Again 550 will be 2 to the 4. Then again, just wait, 550 could be 2, 7, 5. Yes, into 2. 275 could be, just wait, 275 could be, because 550 is divided by 2, then 275, then 275, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, 3 could not be there, 5 could be there. 5, 5, again 5, 5. So into 5 will be there here, into 5 of 5, 5 the 25, 2 remainder. So 2 into 5, 5, 5 the 25. So it could be 5, 5, again 5, 11 the, into 5, then into 11. So in the end, I am deducing result as 2 raised to power 2, 5 raised to power 2 into 11 raised to power 1. So yes, that is correct answer. Any number can be factored uniquely into the product of primes to some power, like this one. Okay. For example, 1100 is given as 2 raised to power 2. 5 raised to power 2 into 11 raised to power 1. So relatively prime means A comma B, which is equal to 1, mean to say we can find the GCD. AB means GCD of the AB. AB is found using the Lucid theorem that we discussed in the lecture, I think 5th or 6th lecture. So next is theorems that are involving A raised to power x into modulus of n. A raised to power x into modulus of n. A raised to power x into modulus of n. Okay. So what are those theorems? I have discussed those theorems. Fermat's theorem, in which the formula given is A. P raised to power A raised to power P minus 1 is equal to 1 modulus of P. P does not divide A. Condition is also given. Next is Euler function. Euler-Totient function. Euler-Totient function we have already discussed. Euler-Totient function in GCD. So number of numbers is less than equal to n and relatively prime to n, that we have discussed in calculating the GCD of a particular number. So it could be easily found if factorization is known. Factorization means to say the factors we created here, like this one. Just have a look. If the factorization is known, it is easy to deduce the same. Next is Euler's theorem. It is having the formula A raised to power totient function, which is equal to 1 modulus of n minus reduces to the Fermat for the n prime. Next is Miller-Rabin test. It is based on the inverse of the Fermat's theorem. N is not prime if A n minus 1 k raised to power 1 modulus of n is there for the deduction. So next is fast exponentiation, that is convert to binary, x to binary. For example, x raised to power 8 is x squared 3 times. So just have a look at all the slides that I have discussed. If you could not understand any one of the theorem, you can ask me, I will explain it to you again. Any Fermat theorem, Euler's totient function, Euler's theorem, Miller-Rabin test, and fast exponential. If you have not understood any of the formula or any of the theorem, I will repeat it. You can just ask me, just have a look. I am giving you the time of 1 to 2 minutes. So next is I am going to discuss about sets. Sets in number theory. What is set? Set, as the name implies, like it is just the collection of the elements. Like there will be curly braces, and inside the curly braces there will be various elements. It could be A, B, C, D, or it could be number theory, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And on sets we are supposed to perform various functions, mathematical functions. For example, union, concatenation, complement. In addition, there could be many more functions that are there. You can perform any functions according to your requirement. So union intersection is the function that is very common for any calculation or any mathematical calculation that is being presented to you. So what is set? A set is just a collection of elements. We usually denote a set by enclosing its elements in the curly braces. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 enclosed in the curly braces is one set. It is a set whose elements are the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sets don't need to have numbers as elements, but they likely will be in this course because we are going to study about the mathematical theorems in cryptography. So the order that we write the elements of the set does not matter. All that matter is the content, that is what element it has. So the second main point that is concerned with the set is an element of the set is said to be belong to the set. We use the symbol uh, E, capital E, for belongs to. That is, it belongs to a particular set, and not belong to, we can put a cross sign in between for does not belong to, such that, for example, if I am giving you the example, I can tell you. Just wait. I am giving it to you for your understanding. I will erase it. So this belongs to is represented by E. 1 belongs to 0, 1, 2 set. Yes. 3 and 6 belongs to 0, 1, 2 set. Just wait. It could be enclosed with such sign, and this cross sign will be over E. Over E, I am supposed, because I am supposed to use your special symbols. If they are present, I am just using them so that you could easily understand the same. Just wait. Insert. No, I do not think there are enough mathematical operations that are available in my word. Okay, you can just imagine it as that. Yes, it could be marked on the E, that is belongs to, so that it means that 3 does not belongs to 0, 1, 2, because my set is 0, 1, 2, and 1 is the part of that set in which the 1 is there. So that is why 1 is the part of 0, 1, 2 set. This is one set 0, 1, 2, and in set there are various elements, 3 elements are there. So 1, I am taking just example, 1 belongs to 0, 1, 2. Yes, this is my correct statement. 3 belongs to 0, 1, 2. No, this is 3 does not belongs to 0, 1, 2. So in this way, I am going to represent you with the sets. So next is, we will be having the integers. In addition, we will be having the integers. Now, what are those integers? We have a natural number of the sets, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to so on, that we have studied in 6th or 7th standard. Natural numbers denotes the set of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to infinity, denotes the set of the natural numbers. So next is positive integers. Next is set of integers. Integer mean to say those who are having value in between the minus integers, positive integers, and 0 will also be there. Next is rational number. Rational number is equal to the q is equal to p by q, where p belongs to z and q belongs to natural number, that is n star. So next is real number. What are real numbers? Which could be denoted by capital R, and it contains all the q and irrational numbers which cannot be expressed as fractions of the integers. For example, square root of 2, square root of 31, pi, etc. So these are all the mathematical terms I think you might have discussed in 12th standard, or I can say till 12th standard you might have studied. Next is prime number. Prime number only have divisors of the 1, and self, they cannot be written as the product of the other number. What is, note 1 is prime but is generally not of the interest. It is very low end number and we generally do not use it in calculation. For example, 2, 3, 5, 7 are prime, 4, 6, 8, 9 are not. Q 2 into 2, again factorization is there. 6, 2 into 3, 8, 2 into 2 into 2, 3, 3 into 3, 10, 5 into 2. So these are not prime numbers. So prime numbers are central to the number theory. List of prime numbers less than 200 is given below. Just have a look. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. 17 is not having any division. I can't multiply 17 with any other table. 23, 19, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, 53, 59, 61, 67, 71, 73, 79. You can just have a look at these high-end numbers that they could not be factorized. They could not be factorized. So that is why they are called prime numbers. They are multiplied by only either 1 or self-multiplied. 83, 1 the 83 or 1 into 83 is 83. So next is 89, 97, 101, 103, 107, 109, 113, 127, 131, 137, 139, 149, 151, 157, 163, 167. So in this way you are supposed to use the prime numbers so that your calculation could be complex. So if you are selecting 199 as your largest prime number in the range of 200, or if it is in the range of 1000, then you can take any number, high end number that you can use to perform the encryption and decryption process. So it would be the number of the high security, because larger the number, more will be the security. So the central concern of the number theory is the study of the prime numbers. Indeed, why we need prime numbers? Because many algorithms are directly having concern with choosing two relatively prime numbers. So an integer p is greater than 1 is a prime number if and only if its only divisors are 1 and itself. So primary numbers play a critical role in number theory and in the techniques discussed in the chapter already. For example, RSA algorithm and GCD theorem. So it shows, so there are numbers that we have chosen here, but the list is limited to only 200. So the prime numbers are distributed and you can choose the range. If you are choosing the range, for example, I have chosen the range 200. So out of 200, I am using the number 199 or 197. You can also define the range till 2000, till 5000. But more numbers you are going to add to your list, more difficulty would be for you to calculate that particular number or calculate the calculation on the behalf of that number. So next is how prime factorization could be done. As I already told you, we are supposed to do the factorization, but based on the prime. To factor a number n is to write it as product of the others number. For example, n is equal to a multiplied by b multiplied by c. So note that factoring a number is relatively hard compared to multiplying the factors together to generate the numbers. In prime factorization of a number n is when it's written as the product of the primes. It could be, for example, 91 could be written as 7 into 13. 3600 could be 2 raised to power 4 into 3 raised to power 2 into 5 raised to power 2. So how could we define the same? Just wait. How could we define the same? I am telling you. For example, if I am taking 3600, then how could that be divided? Just wait, I am taking another slide so that I can make you understand about the same. So let's say I am using 3600. It could be divided by 2. 2 is generating 1800. Again 2, which is generating 900. Again 2, which is generating 450. Again 2, which is generating 2, 2, 5. Then 3, which is generating 3, 7 the 3, 5 the. Okay. Again 3, which is 2 and 5. Then 5, which is generating 5. Then 5, which is generating 1. So what will be my answer? 2 raised to power 4, 3 raised to power 2, 5 raised to power 2. 2 raised to power 4, 3 raised to power 2, 5 raised to power 2. So 3 raised to power 2, 5 raised to power 2. So in this way, the numbers would be factorized, and this is the formula for the same by using the pi as a function. So you can have a look at this formula. I am just enlarging it. Let's note it down. So next is relatively prime numbers and GCD. As you know, we have already discussed about the greatest common divisor. Two numbers, A and B, when they are to be called relatively prime, if they have no common divisor apart from 1. So for example, 8 and 15 are relatively prime since factor of 8 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and of 15 are 1, 3, 5, 15. So why factors of 8 are 1, 2, 4, 8? Because 8 multiplied by 1, which is equal to 8. 2 into 4, 8. So 4 will be here, and 8 into 1 is already 8. Similarly, 15. 3 into 5 is 15. 15 into 1 is 15. 1 into 15 is 15, and 1 is the only common factor. In both the numbers, 2, 4, 8 will be discarded, 3, 5, 15 will be discarded. So only 1 is the greatest common divisor, 1 is the common factor. So conversely, can determine the greatest common divisor by comparing their prime factorization and using least powers. For example, 300 is equal to 2 raised to power 1. Okay, 2, 150. Just wait, how could be it? 2, 3 the 9, 3 the 27. 300 could be 2, 2, 3 the 6, 6, 5 the 30, and 30 into 5. 1 minute, just wait. 300 could be 2, 150, 2, 75, 2, no, 3, 2, 5, 5, 5, 5, 1. 2 raised to power 2, 3 raised to power 1, 5 raised to power 2. 2, 2, 3, 1, 5, 2. 2, 2 है यहाँ पे, गलती दी मैंने. 2, 2, 3, 1, 5, 2. Similarly, 18, 2 into 9, 2 into 9, then 3. Yes, it is okay, because it could be, I am telling you here. What is that? It is 18, 2, 9, 3, 3, 3, 1. 2, 3, 2 into 2 raised to power 1 and 3 raised to power 2. Yes, it is okay. So here 2 into 3, 2 is the common factor, because 1, 2 is here and 1, 2 is here, and 3 is the common factor, 1, 3 is there and 1, 3 is there. So the common factor will be 6. So that is why the GCD will be 6. So in this manner, they are calculating the values. They are calculating the values. This was just for your understanding, or I can say it is the rough work. I am deleting it. So this was all about your numbers theory for the today's lecture. You can have a look at all these slides that I have discussed so far. If you could not understand anything, please let me know. I am giving you the time of 1 minute. Just have a look at all these slides that I have discussed so far. The main thing is prime factorization that I have deduced from this lecture. Mainly you are supposed to learn about the prime factorization from today's lecture. So there is the book that is given for your reference, Books by William Stallings. It is available in the library. You can get it issued. Next is MCQs are given for your understanding, to assess your understanding. So 10 MCQs are there. You are supposed to do the 10 MCQs, and in the end you are supposed to submit me the answers via my email ID. Or if you do not understand anything, then you can ask me, because all the MCQs are related to your today's lecture, and they are quite mathematical, and they require patience and your time. So it is not the task of 10 to 20 minutes. I think these questions could require at least the time of 1 hour in order to calculate the complex mathematical functions. So just have a look at all the questions that I have given it to you for your understanding. Just have a look at all the questions one by one. I have given you questions about the theorems, prime factorization, prime numbers, GCD. In addition, I have given you about the lucid theorem. So you are supposed to calculate it patiently according to your understanding, because if you could not understand anything, that question will be discussed in the upcoming lecture. I will discuss that question in the next lecture. So just if you are having any doubt, you can mark that question. We will discuss that question in the class again. So just have a look at all the 3 questions. I am showing it to you. Next, there are again 3 more questions. Just take its snapshots. Then these are more 3 questions. Then this one is the last question. And I am giving you the example, or I can say I am giving you the assignment about today's lecture, and you are supposed to submit me the assignment in the next class. I will ask any student to present the detail about the number theory in the class, because there are 4 to 5 theorems that I have discussed. Just have a look at those. These are the 5 theorems. So if you do not understand anything about the same, you can ask me. Otherwise, I am giving you it as the assignment part. I can ask any student in the next lecture that he or she is supposed to give presentation about any of the theorem. So be prepared with the same. If you do not understand anything, do let me know. Just note this. This will be your assignment for today's lecture. How various theorems will be used in handling the encryption and decryption process in cryptography. So this was all about my today's lecture. Have a nice day. Thank you.